Today, brand new series. It's just called Focus on This Season. And can I just take you back a week and a half, take you back to Thanksgiving Day? I'm just wondering, how many of you had the picture-perfect Thanksgiving Day? How many of you didn't have the picture-perfect Thanksgiving Day? Okay, do an internet search. This is the picture-perfect Thanksgiving Day. 6 people, grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, 2 children, and the turkey, of course, the turkey. You know who's to blame for that, don't you? You know who's to blame for this picture? This guy right here, Norman Rockwell. He is the one that is to blame for that picture. Now, this is 1943 cover of the a Saturday Evening Post, and it was one of 4 sketches, one of 4 paintings that Norman Rockwell did on the 4 freedoms. So remember, 1943, we're talking, you're in the heart of World War II. There is the Nazi threat, you know, in Europe, and we're in the middle of World War II. And the 4 freedoms is like freedom of speech, freedom to worship, freedom from fear, and then the title of this one is freedom from want. Freedom from want. But very few people call that freedom from want. Most people, when they refer to this picture, just say, you know, the Norman Rockwell Thanksgiving, right? The Norman Rockwell Thanksgiving. Mine wasn't like that. Mine wasn't like that. My dad, my folks, they had over myself and my 4 brothers. There's 5 of us, siblings, wives, kids, grandkids. By my count, it was 36 of us that invaded their home. Now, if you want to know what that looks like, it looks something like this. But I only count like 23 people in that picture. So there are 13 more people crammed in somewhere there and around the corner. Now, we have grown accustomed to the noise. We have learned to embrace the chaos. But there, from time to time, seems to be someone invited to one of these Thanksgivings or Christmas events where all of us are there, and they're like someone that's dating someone or a niece, you know, fiance type thing. And when they walk in the door, it's always like, we use the word joy, they would use the word mayhem. Now, this is our wonderful Thanksgiving. All I have to say is this, whatever this was, it wasn't that. Hey, and I'm conscious of something, even as I show that picture. All those people crammed into that house, I know that there's some of you who go, dude, I'd give anything for that kind of mayhem. Because our family's fractured or scattered all over the place and we feel so alone right now. I would give anything for that chaos. But there's a gap, isn't there? There's a gap that exists between the ideal and the real. There's this gap that exists between this picture-perfect, postcard, everything in its place, holiday season, and the way things actually turn out with the people in our world and some of the family connections you are bracing to have. The sister or sister-in-law that just seems to get huffy. You've got a brother-in-law who has turned complaining about politics into an endurance sport. I mean, you can complain. I know, I've heard some of you. We can complain, but you just lack the stamina. You're good for like 10 or 15 minutes. It's day 2, and he's just getting warmed up. And you go, hey, I'm gonna go pick up a pack of cigarettes. You don't even smoke. You just gotta go, and you gotta go get something from somewhere. You just need a break, and you climb into your car, and as you turn the ignition, the radio comes on. It's the happiest season of all. And you go, no, it's not. These things are kind of fun to talk about, but I know that some of you, you're traveling into Christmas and you were not planning on traveling into Christmas unemployed. But there's been a shakeup lately in your organization. And man, you're like job hunting right now. You called your friends together and you said, we just want to offer praise to God. The cancer is in remission. And now it's back. I mean, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's back. And you're not looking forward to January. You haven't seen your daughter in 4 months. You used to use the term casual drug use. There's nothing casual about it. You don't know where she's living. You don't know who she's living with. And it's very probable that as you move into this gap between Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's probable that you scan the horizon of your life and you count blessing after blessing after blessing, and you go, no, genuinely, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this, but then there's that one other thing, that disruptive thing, that consuming thing, that if only that would get resolved, if only that would get healed, if only that would go away. And it's not all a mess all the time. It's just blessing, 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 that. And it's what you're thinking about when you go to bed at night, and it's what you're thinking about when you wake up in the morning. And if you wake up at 4 a.m., it's what keeps you from getting back to sleep. My friends, there is a gap between the ideal and the real. What I want to do, what I long to do, is to lead us in a 25-day process of focusing on the condition of our heart in this season. For our Saturday attenders, 25 days, took them from yesterday right up to Christmas Day. This takes you up to December 26th. You get a bonus day. You're welcome. And you have a journal with you. I'm gonna ask you to use that later. Don't write in it yet. You're gonna need that. In fact, today's conversation is going to fall into two categories. First, I just wanna open the scriptures and share a story from the Bible that is frequently connected to the Christmas story. And then the second part of the conversation is I'm gonna ask you to flip those journals open and actually do an exercise or a series of exercises with me here in this space. Now, this 3-part series called Focus on This Season. I could have done a different series. The series could have been How to Get the People in Your Life to Behave. I would predict that might have limited effectiveness. But what I really wanna do is focus on your heart. Is it possible that you can be at your best even when the people around you are not at their best? Is it possible to experience the goodness of God and the nearness of God even when the current situation you're in is so stinking far from ideal? That's really the question, isn't it? How can you be connected to God and connected to other people in a less than ideal world? So part 1, we're gonna explore a story of the Bible together. Part 2, we're gonna do a journaling exercise together. So part 1, I wanna start with this picture. It's an Italian artist. His name's Fra Angelica. You're talking 1400s. Now, if you Googled Fra Angelica, the Annunciation, it's like the announcement to Mary that she is going to have baby Jesus, and there's Angel Gabriel, and you would find 2 or 3 of these different paintings, the Annunciation, that this Italian artist did for different churches, okay? But this one here, I like this one. I mean, there's something not to like in this picture. And you just look at it and you go, well, obviously it's a European setting and not a first century, Israel setting. You go, Mary was probably a peasant, lower income, and here this looks regal, it looks royal, it looks affluent. And so there's reasons to look at it and go, yeah, that just isn't that realistic. But there's something to love about this picture. And it is not the announcement from Gabriel to Mary that she's going to have a baby and that this baby will come as the rescuer. It's over here on the left-hand side. There are 2 people and there's an angel here. And this image here is the Old Testament story of Adam and Eve being driven from the Garden of Eden. This here on the left, it represents the fall. It represents what's broken with our planet. It represents what's gone wrong with our world. And Adam and Eve's rebellion, it's like this sin begins to sweep from generation to generation, and it really messes with everything. The effects of sin are thorough. It messes with every country, every government, every company, every family, every church, and every human heart. And so what Fra Angelica does here is off to the side, he says, Remember the world we enter. It's broken, it's fragmented, it's fallen, it's messed up. And here the angel is speaking words that rescue is coming. Salvation is coming through the person of Christ. Now, Mary receives this announcement. She is up north in the town of Nazareth, where her and her fiance, Joseph, live. And so just a map perspective here. When she finds out she's expecting Jesus, she travels from Nazareth down to the area, I think, south of Jerusalem. You go, oh, I get it. That's when she goes to Bethlehem to have Jesus. No. This is months before the manger scene where Jesus is born. Mary knows that a relative of hers, an older relative, is also expecting. Woman's name is Elizabeth. And Elizabeth is way beyond the age where it would be normative for a woman to be pregnant. Distance here is about 80 miles, and so it says Mary went to the hill country of Judea. It doesn't tell us a town, it doesn't tell us a village, it doesn't tell us a city, but we think south of here. So she hoofed it like 80 to 100 miles to come visit Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth is expecting. Mary is not showing, Elizabeth is. Elizabeth is 6 months along. And there's this deal where Mary walks into Elizabeth's house. The baby Elizabeth is carrying is John the Baptist. And it's like when Mary walks in and greets Elizabeth, it's like the baby jumps inside Elizabeth. And so Elizabeth then exclaims, and you would find this in Luke chapter 1, verse 42, it says, in a loud voice, Elizabeth, she exclaimed, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the child that you bear." And she says, "But who am I that the mother of the Lord would come to visit me? When I heard your voice, when the baby heard your voice, it just jumped inside of me." And then verse 45, "Blessed is she who has believed that the Lord would fulfill his promise. Mary, you are blessed because you believed what God would do to you and in you and through you." And then Mary launches out into this song. It's a pretty famous song. We call it, it's often called the Magnificat, because in Latin, it was "my soul magnifies the Lord." And so the term Magnificat is taken from "my soul glorifies the Lord" or magnifies the Lord. And so what I want to do is I just want to read through Mary's song. And I don't want to treat it, from a scientific standpoint to analyze each verse. What I want to do is just, if I may, just pinpoint 4 expressions from her song that kind of leap out at me. So circle these 4 expressions as we move through the story. She says, "My soul," Mary's singing now. She's in Elizabeth's presence. She's expecting, Elizabeth's expecting. There's this moment between them, and she goes, "My soul glorifies the Lord. My spirit rejoices in God, my Savior, for he has been mindful." The term that is used there, he has seen. I'm nobody from nowhere. And the God of creation has seen me. For he has been mindful. He is mindful of the humble state of his servant. I'm nobody from nowhere, and he's seen me. From now on, all generations will call me blessed, for the Mighty One has done great things for me. Holy is his name. Next part of the song. His mercy extends to those who fear him from generation to generation. He has performed mighty deeds with his arm. He has scattered those who are proud in their inmost thoughts. God does not think highly of the self-interested arrogance. Their interests are scattered, but he has scattered those who are proud in their inmost thoughts. He has brought down rulers from their thrones, but he has what? He has lifted up the humble. He sees me, he lifts me. When Mary used that term, he has lifted up the humble, I believe what she is doing, she's raised in Israel, she's raised going to synagogue, she has heard the readings of the Psalms again and again and again, and this language of God as the lifter is a theme that runs through our Psalms. An example would be Psalm chapter 40, verse 2, just one of many examples where it says, He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on a rock. He gave me a firm place to stand. Here is the songwriter, I believe King David, Psalm 40, saying, He did what? He lifted me out of the muck. He lifted me out of the mud. Listen, if we just went around our rooms, I just know how many people would say, Jeff, he lifted me too. He lifted me out of a state of confusion and now I have some clarity. He lifted me out of depressive, hopeless despair into a season of hope. Everything isn't fixed yet, but I'm hopeful. He lifted me out of a self-destructive lifestyle, habits that were destroying me and they were about to destroy everybody around me. He lifted me. He lifts those who are humble, who come to him and just say, God, I have to have your help now. He sees me, he lifts me. He has filled the hungry with good things, but has sent the arrogant, wealthy away empty. Those who have no need for him. He has helped his servant Israel, remembering to be merciful to Abraham and his descendants forever, just as he promised our ancestors. Abraham, the father of the Jewish people. Abraham, just leave your country, leave all that is familiar. Go to a place I will show you. Baby, I will bless you. I will pour out my blessing on you. Those who bless you, I will bless. Through you, all of the world will be blessed. That had been centuries before. And she says, you haven't forgotten. You remembered the promises you made to Abraham that now you are fulfilling through this baby that I'm carrying. Look at the four words together. He sees me, he lifts me, he fills me, he remembers me. Will you do something with me? Can we read those out loud? I need you to hear yourself say them. Ready? He sees me, he lifts me, he fills me, he remembers me. Who needs that? Do you feel invisible? Do you feel low? Do you feel empty? Do you feel forgotten? Listen to the song of Mary. One more time, ready? He sees me, he lifts me, he fills me, he remembers me. And I suspect that right now, in this very moment, some of you have just been softened, tenderized, more filled with hope. Is there stuff you're in and not looking forward to? There might be that one thing that's looming in your life and just going, what if he sees me? What if he desires to lift me? What if he desires to fill the emptiness in me? What if I am not forgotten? What I'm saying is, as you explore the Song of Mary, there's hope, there's reason for hope. But there's a next step that I'm going to ask you to take. And that is a daily step. I'm going to ask you to practice something for 25 consecutive days where you invite God in, whether it is your season of extreme joy or extreme disappointment or somewhere between, that you invite God in and experience the goodness and the nearness of God on a daily basis. So, grab your journal, and somewhere in the front, it'd probably be good to write your name in it, because there's going to be about 8,000 of these floating around Kent County. You might want to be able to identify which one is yours. And then I would love for you, if we can go to the next slide, just to write the word at the top. And the word at the top is just the word day one. So write day one at the top. You'll never believe what I'm going to ask you to write tomorrow. Day two. Now, this is what by the way, those of you who are brand new with this, just know that most weekend sermon times we have are not this interactive. And so this weekend, next weekend, the following weekend, we're actually going to practice something together. So it's kind of out of the ordinary. Some of you will absolutely love this, and the rest of you will absolutely love this. So if you could, 3 practices, just write the word gratitude somewhere off on the left, and write just kind of 1 and 2 and 3. Gratitude, and then 1 and 2 and 3. I started doing this years ago. Most days during the week, I write down 3 specific, unique things that I'm grateful for that day. And by specific and unique, I don't mean, my food, my house, my car, my food, my house, my car, my food, my house, my kids, my car, but a specific food item that I enjoyed that day or the previous day, a specific interaction with an individual, something beautiful in nature. Birds in the feeder outside, or spring rain, or just transcendently beautiful summer day, or first snowfall, or autumn leaves that are just red and orange in Michigan autumn. So it's sometimes with nature, sometimes a physical possession, something that I own. I just want to say, God, hey, thanks that's in my life, and that you've blessed me with that. So I'm going to read you my gratitude list on 2 specific days. Are you ready? Be prepared to be astounded. Gratitude for a toasted jalapeno bagel with cream cheese. Delicious. Now, there's a spiritual leader for you. Seriously, it's just normal, not a bagel, mind you, a toasted jalapeno bagel with cream cheese. Now, that's a reason for joy and worship. Gratitude number 2, coffee yesterday with Joe Jones, a gift. It's an urban leader in Grand Rapids I got to hang out with for breakfast, get caught up. And then the 3rd gratitude was my fire ring last night. Delightful space from which to answer emails, make calls, and enjoy the flames on a chilly night. That was October 23, so October 9. So that's just gratitude from the day before, that the bagel that I ate, that person that I was able to hang out with, and fire ring in the backyard. You can see this is transcendently challenging to do. November 10. Awakened, gratitude, number 1. Awakened to a 4.5-year-old grandson standing beside my bed, literally like that far away. Opening words of the morning. Did I scare you, Grandpa? All right. Gratitude number 2, a tent fort in the living room from which we dined on frozen pizza and watched WALL-E. Gratitude number 3, a snow-covered landscape today. Delightful. It's November 10. Now, what I attempt to do with this is this. My belief is that my life is being bombarded by God's blessings, and so is yours, by the hundreds. And this is a moment just to pause, just to call a timeout, and to reach out and snag 3 of them as they go zipping by. This may or may not change your day. But do this practice day after day after day after day after day, and it can begin to change your heart and tilt it in the direction of gratitude and thanksgiving. So let me ask you to do something. Let me ask you to take your journal right here, and on the left-hand side, gratitude. I'm going to ask Andy just to play some chords for a second, and just take 30 seconds or a minute, and let's do this now together. Just 3 unique things you're thankful to God for today. right. You can wrap up later if you need more time. I'm going to ask you to do this for 25 consecutive days. 3 things, 3 more things, 3 more things, 3 more things. See, it's not just the beauty of becoming a thankful person. My dear friends, we've talked about this before. It's what gratitude pushes out. Because gratitude is an obsession with what is going right. Gratitude has the power over time to push out complaint, anxiety, and envy. Because gratitude is an obsession with what is going right. Complaint is an obsession with what is going wrong. Anxiety is obsession with what might go wrong, and envy is obsession with what is going right for everybody else but us. Envy is that wounded voice that whispers, why them and not me? Gratitude over time, again and again and again, can push out those darker moods and clouds that float into our lives. It's interesting, in Paul's letter, the Apostle Paul wrote young Christians in northern Greece. They were in the city of Philippi. And so in Philippians chapter 4, you find these words that we looked at intently a year ago. Do not be anxious about anything. Do not be consumed with anxiety about anything in your life, but in every single situation, with prayer, by prayer and petition, what? 2 words circled. With what? With thanksgiving, present your request to God. This verse makes perfect sense without those 2 words. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, with prayer and petition, bring your request to God. But those 2 words are in there with thanksgiving. The idea is this: as you take time to talk with your Heavenly Father about everything that is going wrong, make sure you mention thanksgiving for things that are going right. But in simply saying this, do not be anxious about anything, the Apostle Paul assumed that there was reason for anxiety. So let's move to part 2 of our journaling exercise, the word number 2, which is what? Filling. Now, I'm gonna ask you to do a heart check right now. It's gonna take some insight and some quietness, but I would like you in your journal just to write this under the word filling. There's an expression here: today my heart is. Now, when I've asked that question open-endedly, today my heart is, on my most frustrating days, I go, I don't know. But so now I have a practice going, okay, choose one. Glad, mad, sad, excited, afraid, ashamed, tender. Some days you have a soft heart. And I go, okay, pick one. How's your heart today? Glad, mad, sad, excited. I'm afraid, man. I am scared. I'm ashamed of something I did. Just tender. I just really got a soft heart today or this week. And then other. Other might be numb. Today my heart is numb. Today my heart is distracted. Today my heart is deeply resentful. And so can I ask you to do something? In the next minute or 2, pick one of those words. Today my heart is. And by the way, you have a cue card that's with you too, where those words go, man, dude, on Wednesday, how am I gonna remember those? They're on that little card that you have. Mad, glad, sad, excited, afraid, ashamed, tender, and then might be other. Take a moment to pick one, and then just kind of finish a sentence. I'm afraid of. I'm sad because. I'm excited for. Just kind of add on. 2 or 3 sentences is all you need. Take a moment to do that. right. I mean, as you can already tell, when you sit down on Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Friday morning, you're going to need a little bit more time perhaps than I've just given you. Why is this important? Why is it important just to do a heart check and go, man, what's going on inside me today? Check something out with me. The Proverbs in the Old Testament, many of them are penned or collected. They're collections. King Solomon, king of Israel. In Proverbs chapter 4, you find this statement. It says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Will you read that with me? Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. So today my heart is glad, mad, sad, excited, afraid, ashamed, tender, or numb, or distracted, or resentful, whatever other happens to be. If you end up going, today I'm mad, I'm mad, I'm mad. Listen, if that goes on for long enough, you just don't have an angry day, you become an angry person. It is okay to travel through some emotions. It's entirely different to camp out there and stay there. Guard your heart. Guard your heart about what? Guard your heart against petty, picky resentments. Guard your heart against unresolved conflict. Guard your heart against an angry, embittered spirit. Above all else, like mission number one, guard your heart. Because man, every other conversation you have, every other interaction, every other relationship is gonna flow out of whether you are functioning out of a healthy heart or out of a sick heart. Part one of filling is just say, okay, how's my heart? How's my heart? Today my heart is. You're not done with that yet. There's another expression, and I'd like you to see this. Today my heart is, glad, mad, sad, excited, afraid, ashamed, tender. But dear Lord, please fill me with. Now, what I've created here is a list of something in the Bible called the fruit of the Spirit. It's God's crop. The fruit of God's Spirit. It's a God crop. It's not the fruit of Jeff. It's not the fruit of Karen. This is something that God can do in you that you really could not pull off on your own. And it says love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And what I sometimes do is match these up with what's going on in my heart. Today, my heart is sad. And maybe I've got a reason to be sad. But God, in my sadness, please give me joy in my sadness. Please give me a heart that's able to love other people, even when I'm struggling here a little bit. Today, my heart is mad, and be able to go, God, just please give me patience with the people around me. Just please give me goodness. Please give me a gentle spirit, because gentle is just something I'm not feeling right now. What I'm trying to express here is that between these two, today my heart is, and Lord, fill me with, what if God desires to give a specific gift that matches a specific daily need or emotional situation or challenge? What if these can match up? Today my heart is, and God, just please fill me with. And so I'm gonna ask Andy to play again. Take a minute or two, scan this list, which is also in that card that you have. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. And just write, Lord, please fill me with, and select one of those. All right, take a minute. is no exaggeration. This can change you. God, I need a peace that is beyond me. I need a joy that is beyond me. I have to have outside help. God, I need an endowment of your love in order to love people around me. It's inviting God in. I'm going to plead with you to do this for 25 consecutive days. Listen, this may be total, these 3 exercises, gratitude, filling, and identity. This might take you 10 to 15 minutes. Your life is worth 10 to 15 minutes of heart focus over the next stretch. My friends, this is not simply getting you through Christmas. This is heart preparation for whatever 2019 will bring. This gets you started into the new year. Principle number 1 or exercise number 1, gratitude. I'm thankful for this. God, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. Exercise number 2, just filling. God, this is where I am. Please, please help me today with this. It's experiencing the goodness and nearness of God, whatever you're experiencing. Word number 3 is just the word identity. It's just the word identity. Okay, here's the deal. Who are you? Who are you at your core? What is more true about you than anything else? Who are you? This map here identifies a spot now it's in Western Turkey. It's the city of Ephesus. Back in the day, Ephesus was the 4th largest city in the Roman world. The Jesus movement had started here in Jerusalem and had spread very rapidly to major port cities around the Mediterranean Sea. Now, Ephesus might be just a name for you, but wander the streets of Ephesus and you walk upon this structure. This happens to be the theater. Low estimates is that it seated around 26,000 people. Upper estimates I've seen are like 35,000 people. So think a major league NBA basketball arena or even a small major league baseball field is just massive. And so suddenly you walk by that, you go, oh, I get it. Ephesians, these are real people with real conflict and real need and real jobs. And the Apostle Paul wrote to them, reminding them of who they were and what this new identity was calling out of them. So what is your core identity and what does that core identity call forth from you? So in Ephesians chapter 5, 1 and 2, you would find these words, follow God's example, therefore, as what? Next 3 words, as dearly loved children. Would you trust me if I let you know that some of the people who had become part of the Jesus movement in Ephesus were still a little messed up? Not quite there yet, deeply flawed, still growing, and yet they are called what? 3 words. Say it with me, dearly loved children. He says, listen, follow God's example as dearly loved children and walk in the way of love, just as Christ, 2 things, loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. He says, you are not empty. You are not unloved. Follow God's example. He's a lover and a giver. Now, as people dearly loved by God, out of that, you are free to love flawed people in your world as dearly loved children. And so I would like you to take your journal one last time and under identity, just like this is, and put your name and your beloved and put your gender. This is Jeff, your beloved son. This is Chris, your beloved daughter. Could you write that down? This is Jeff, your beloved son. This is Chris, your beloved daughter. This is Stephen, your treasured kid. This is Shauna, your beloved daughter. I have written that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times in my journals. I don't do that to remind God who I am. I do that to remind me who I am. That what most defines me is not the sum of my failures, and what most defines me is not the sum of my successes. What most defines me is that I am a treasured son of the creator of the universe. To keep from getting in a rut, I try to word it different ways. This is Jeff, your treasured son. This is Jeff, your beloved son. This is Jeffrey Wayne Manion, the child of your affection. I need you today. Gratitude, filling, identity. Can I ask you for 25 consecutive days between today and Christmas? Remind yourself who you are. He sees you. He lifts you. He fills you. He remembers you. Because when you come to know Jesus as rescuer and savior, you are his. Take your journal, and on the next open page, I would like you to write 2 words. Day 2. See, you're already started on tomorrow morning. Bring this with you next weekend, and don't let it get lost over the intervening 7 days. This is a season of focus. Each and every day, experiencing the goodness and the nearness of God. I'm going to ask you to stand. We're going to close by singing a song. So let me ask our worship teams to come out at each of our campuses, and I get to pray for us, and then we'll sing together as we close. Gracious God, I am grateful that we were here today in your presence and in each other's company. Once again, we ask that you would mold us, that you would shape us, that you would transform us into the people that you created us to be. Gracious God, restore your image in us. We ask this in the name of Jesus, who loved us, gave himself for us.